That helps small farmers connect with big markets is called Khula, and it helps markets sell and transport their produce. Created by Karidas Tshintsholo and Matthew Piper, Khula says it's creating African solutions for African problems. Karidas, who's the co-founder of the app, joins me in studio. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Talk to us about how you came up with this idea for this app.
Okay, cool. So the idea speaks to an African problem, as we are Khula and its African solutions for African problems. We realized the fact that Africa has about 60% of the world's arable land, and over and above that, more than half of the population on the African continent are dependent on small-scale agriculture for an income. And the app was basically to address that problem, to say if we can move all these people from farming hand to mouth and move them to commercial stage, it will have huge implications on employment and the overall economic growth of the continent.
Those kind of people who may not have access to markets and also may not have access to technology, how do you find them and get them onto your app?
Yeah, so largely it's been through word of mouth. A lot of farmers actually find out about us through farmers who've had a successful experience on the app. And we've actually found that WhatsApp has played a key role in a lot of older people getting basic smartphones. So we've built the app in such a way that it works on the most low-cost smartphone. So any farmer, like on a 100 Rand smartphone, the app can actually run. So we've basically positioned it in such a way that it can work for even the lowest of the market.
So take me through how it works. If I'm an emerging farmer watching and I want to have my goods in a big market,
yes.
What do I do step by step?
Okay, so step by step, firstly, you download the app. That does not mean you automatically start trading on the platform. Currently, you'll go on a waiting list. And once you get on the waiting list, we then do a site visit. So we verify whether you are actually a farmer, whether you are actually planting the right stuff. And once you've actually verified, then we add you on the platform, and then you can start trading. Then you can start supplying the different customers on the platform. But I do have to say that we are still running a pilot. So currently we focus mainly in Gauteng and Northwest. Going into next year, we're looking at unlocking Limpopo and unlocking Mpumalanga and KZN going into next year. But currently we're still a startup. We're a team of 6 guys. And going into next year, we want to unlock these other markets. We found that over the past month or so, we've had growth from 500 farmers to about 1,700 farmers. So we actually are quite overwhelmed and need multiple parties, NGOs, government, even private sector to kind of hold hands with us as we kind of move these emerging farmers and move them to commercial scale.
How much support have you had from government and specifically from government? Let's start there.
South Africa is very difficult if you're running a small business. So as it stands, we've self-funded everything. So we've actually funded this business, myself and Matthew Piper, and my other partner who we just brought on board, Leko Makwene. We've funded everything fully ourselves, and it's been very difficult to kind of get access to funding. And hence we're also doing this media drive to kind of appeal to government to say, hey, look, we've got 1,700 farmers on the platform, and we need more capacity, we need more vehicles, we need to capacitate our team so we can start basically taking the app throughout the country. So we need that kind of support.
But from government, we're hearing this thing that, we've got, I think our unemployment rate is 27.5%.
Yes.
And we're hearing government saying they are supportive of small businesses,
yes,
and they grow jobs. So
yes,
there are many programs, but you're saying that's not actually the case.
So as it stands, we have not received any support from government as yet, but we feel that what Kuhla does, for example, we do a whole lot of offtake agreements for our farmers. So we just signed an offtake agreement with Police Food, which supplies inputs to RocoMamas. So if you sign an offtake like that, you're able to move a 2-hectare farmer to an 8-hectare almost overnight.
Amazing.
And if on a 2-hectare you're employing 6 people, on an 8-hectare you're employing way more people than you would be on a 2-hectare. So the solution doesn't only speak to the farmer themselves, it speaks to unemployment, it speaks to a whole range of issues, and hence we're trying to pull in different stakeholders, because when it comes to agriculture, you can't solve problems in isolation. You need buy-ins on the logistics side, on the client side. It's a problem that we have to solve jointly as a country, especially speaking to unemployment. We need to give young people a financially viable alternative to a traditional job, and we believe that agriculture can be that solution, because if everyone is vying for jobs, I mean, if you're a black person, your surname probably has a piece of land somewhere in the Eastern Cape or somewhere in KwaZulu-Natal, but everyone is flocking to Sandton and everyone is just knocking for jobs in Sandton. But if we could make a business case for land, so if we could say, same way with Uber, you know that if you put your car on Uber, your installment is 5,000, but you can turn over 25,000 on a month. It makes sense to put your car on Uber. If we can do that for land with Kuhla and say, hey, look, on a 1-hectare, you're able to turn over 40,000, or on a 2-hectare, you're able to turn over 80,000, depending on the crops that you're planting. It makes a better business case than you going to slave for a corporate and earning 10,000 a month. So we need to build that business case and kind of have an African approach to our problems. In Africa, we don't need another social media platform. We need solutions that speak to the problems that we we have, to agriculture, to education, and a whole range of other issues.
How do you change that mindset? Because that is a very important thing that you're speaking on, people working for themselves, and entrepreneurs, and people making sure that they earn money from the land. But besides your app, how do you then filter that message down to say that this is not the only option for work?
I think that mindset is kind of changed. I think we believe that examples are very good. So we feel that in our case as Khula, we kind of want not only to succeed for ourselves, but also to inspire other startups who can see that an African startup can actually come up with a solution that speaks to Africa and that speaks to the problems that we have, that speaks to the land that we have. And I think right now, with the land expropriation debate that's happening, it's a very one-sided conversation that's happening at the moment. We're talking too much on the political side. We're talking too much on should we or should we not get the land. But a parallel conversation should be what happens when we get the land, and whether or not we get the land or not, we still need a solution for emerging farmers. And we're talking too much on the political side, and we need to kind of move to a place where we start having the solutions conversation happening, and it needs to be driven by the youth and not by people who are old and grey and about to hit the grave.
Thanks so much for your time, Karidas Tshintsholo, the co-founder of the Kuhla app. It's time for a look at the Africa market.